Good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice.
And I am Alfred Ocansey.
The news is also live on Casmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. We're also streaming live on 3FM 92.7 on Facebook. Coming up in the next 1.5 hours. Tonight, is it a scandal or a conversation for a negotiation that went wrong? We explore the supposed expose on the Attorney General Godfred Dame and the response of the governing MPP on what went wrong in the Atoforsen Richard Japa ambulance case.
We have in our possession a series of recordings in which the Attorney General Godfred Dame is clearly heard goading, urging, impressing upon, and actually coaching Mr. Japa to bear false testimony against the minority leader, Dr. Atoforsen.
We've got all the details for you.
Also this evening, the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, has unveiled a Vision 2057 agenda with a focus on peace and security, science and innovation, and macroeconomic stability. For the details, we ask what has become of the earlier 40-year development plan.
Also later, Electoral Commission gives details of why it got data on voter registration exercise results wrong as it sets December 2 as a date for special voting. We'll bring you more as the Commission reviews modalities for the next big exercise.
Here on Campaign Trail on your Election Command Center as well, bring you what is happening and all the build-up ahead of election 2024 here on your Election Command Center. We're live as well on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond.
Though, for now, Grace Hamwajuman is here to give us the summary of the news. Grace, what you have?
Yes, Beatrice, the National Development Planning Commission has unveiled a Vision 2057 agenda to make Ghana an upper middle income country. The Vision 2057, which is an improvement on the 40-year development plan, will seek to allow political parties fashion their manifestos to reflect this long-term plan. The new agenda will also compel political parties to abide by the vision. Away from that, Deputy Finance Minister Dr. Stephen Amoah has revealed that Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam has formulated a set of short-term strategies aimed at stabilizing the national currency. While Dr. Amoah did not disclose the specific measures being put in place, he highlighted the crucial role of citizen cooperation in reducing imports, which he indicated is essential for the long-term stability of the city. And the presiding judge, hearing the purchase of defective ambulances, has given a stern warning to parties in the case regarding public commentary. Speaking to the prosecution and lawyers of the accused persons, Justice Ifya Sewa Asaribuche indicated that she is disturbed about the public commentary on the case. She noted that these comments that cast a slur on the integrity of the judiciary will not be tolerated. That's it for the news summaries.
Oh, Grace, I'm Wajiban there. That's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. And this is Hot Edition. We start this journey this evening with the opposition NDC revealing the damning evidence against the Attorney General, Godfred Dame, in the ongoing controversy about what was said to be a plot to have the third accused make up a case against Atoforsen.
Yes, Alfred, and beyond revealing this supposed recordings and WhatsApp messages, the opposition NDC is also demanding the removal of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice Godfred Dame for allegedly compromising his office in the Atoforsen ambulance trial. The NDC has also gone ahead to release a 16-minute leaked audio purported to be a conversation between the Attorney General Godfred Dame and the third accused person, Richard Japa. The opposition NDC also backed the said leaked audio with WhatsApp messages purported to have been sent by the prosecutor and, in this case, the Attorney General, to the third accused, Richard Jakpa. At a media briefing which ended a short while ago, the national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedun Katia, said that the AG is determined to seek the incarceration of Dr. Atuforsin unjustly. Remember that the former Deputy Finance Minister is standing trial for allegedly causing financial loss of 2.37 million euros to the state over the purchase of ambulances. Mawina Egbata was at the media briefing. He joins us live on the phone. Mawina, just walk us through what the national chairman of the party, the NDC, has been saying regarding this leaked tape in their possession.
So, Beatrice, you amongst many other things have touched on some of the highlights, but the NDC started the entire conversation, or the national chairman started the entire conversation with a premise of some sort, making the argument quite simply that they believe that this entire journey that the minority leader has been on, along with the other accused persons over the last 2 years, has been nothing short of a persecution targeted at the then ranking member on the finance committee, Dr. Atuforsin, who is now the minority leader, to guard him and prevent him from criticizing the government, and for his role in the difficulties the government had in being able to see through the passage of the e-levy and the 2022 budget. They make the argument that it was after that particular incident that we began to see the processes which were laid bare for this entire prosecution to start. And so that was the basis or the premise upon which they started the entire press conference. And then they proceeded to make the case that they have been accused by the NPP, particularly the Attorney General, Godfred Dame, and who they believe as NPP propagandists, that they did not deliver ambulances to the country, but they were buses which didn't meet the specification of ambulances. The NDC at this press conference said they were using the opportunity to set the record straight that they actually indeed delivered ambulances, 30 of which they showed pictures of, and also showed the bill of lading from the port which described the items which were delivered to the country, and also detailed certain things which should have been done, particularly by this administration, to see through the clearance of the ambulances and other medical equipment to be used subsequently, all which they say still remain at the port 8+ years on since the current administration took over. And then Johnson Asiedun Katia decided to, or began then to delve into the matters in relation to the tape and what they believe to be impropriety as has been carried out by the Attorney General in the course of the trial. They make the argument, and they make it very forcefully, that they believe that the AG, as a Minister of Justice, has not expressed interest in serving justice, but rather has expressed interest in jailing innocent civilians. And in this place, that is the minority leader. They then begin to go into the audio recordings, and he sought to provide a background of some sort, in his own words, whetting the appetite of journalists before they could listen to the 16 minutes long audio recording of Richard Jakpa and then Godfred Dame, who is the Attorney General, in this audio recording that they have in their possession, where amongst many other things, we hear conversations ensuing between the Attorney General and then Richard Jakpa over letters of credit and the arrangements which went into the delivery of these buses as to whether or not all the 200 ambulances were to be delivered at a go, and whether the letters of credit were to be raised as and when the ambulances were delivered. There was an extensive back and forth over that before you hear Mr. Jakpa in the audio clip and make the case that he has a difficulty with a position, and that if he agrees with that position about how they'll be going about answering questions, he will be dishonest and he will be going against his conscience. And you hear the person also believed to be Mr. Jakpa making the argument that he cannot do something because he's fighting for his freedom, and so he cannot be doing things which will implicate another person, in this case, the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Tuforsen. And intermittently, as the audio clippings were being played, the chairman of the NDC asked for it to be paused and then reiterates the pointers, raising questions about the impropriety of the Attorney General, amongst other things. We can take a listen to a brief excerpt of the chair of the NDC as he addressed the media in relation to what they found out and the concerns they have as a party.
The Attorney General, who was personally present, in the court, could not object to this damning evidence of Mr. Japa. He did not deny calling and meeting Japa at odd hours. Neither did he deny Japa's claim that he had been impressing on him to skew his testimony in a matter that will allow the state to secure a conviction against the minority leader. You have been accused of something and you are sitting there. You decide that the way to respond is through a press statement where you could have defended yourself there. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, in the period following these startling revelations, the NDC has obtained compelling evidence which support Mr. Japa's claim that the Attorney General indeed has engaged him on countless occasions and urged him to falsify, underline his testimony to aid the case of Attorney General against Dr. Kesela Tuforsen. This evidence points to a devious, diabolic, and dangerous plan by the Attorney General to secure conviction against Minority Leader Dr. Tuforsen at all costs, contrary to what the third accused knows and believes to be the truth. We have in our possession a series of recordings in which the Attorney General, Godfred Dame, is clearly heard goading, urging, impressing upon, and actually coaching Mr. Japa to bear false testimony against the minority leader, Dr. Tuforsen.
So that was the chair of the opposition NDC, Johnson Asiedun Katia there. Mawina Agbata is still on the line with us. Mawina, obviously the NDC is backing its own, the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Tuforsen. But we do know that last week when this issue became heated, the AG defended himself with his spokesperson and even the subsequent statement kind of explaining that there's a strategy that it wanted to use as regards plea bargaining. So why ask for his removal now, really?
Well, for the NDC's chair, the evidence provided in these audio recordings, which also include WhatsApp messages between the two, allegedly, points nothing close to a plea bargain. In fact, they copiously quoted the legal profession's regulations, where they, amongst other things, questioned how the actions of the Attorney General can fall within the remit of the legal profession, and then the arguments they make about plea bargain. They even called out the AG in his own statement that at some point they make the argument that they did not meet Richard Japa, and subsequently in the explanations by the AG spokesperson, there's been suggestions that the meeting was just once, amongst other things. Johnson Asiedun makes the argument that all of that is clear, that the Attorney General has been engaging in falsehood, and so, amongst many things, they are demanding his immediate resignation or his sack by the President, because they believe he is not fit to hold the office of the Attorney General. They also are amongst many other things, demanding a prosecution of him over these particular charges and these issues that have come up quite strongly, which they've made public. And then they're expecting a commencement of disciplinary action against him by the General Legal Counsel. As to where that will take them, not quite clear. And then a public televised parliamentary inquiry into other reports of judicial manipulations, they believe, by Godfred Dame. And so 4 points they raise quite strongly that they want done, and they say that points 2 in particular in terms of prosecuting the Attorney General. If the current president fails to do that, a future NDC government will not hesitate at all to prosecute Godfred Dame over what they believe is witness tampering and coercing a witness to implicate another accused person to have them go to jail.
Thank you very much, Mawina Egbeta there. But we can listen to Johnson Asidun Katia elaborate that point Mawina Egbeta just gave us.
This gross professional misconduct on the part of no less a person than the Attorney General, who was the leader of the bar, bears a high responsibility to adhere to the rules of ethics of the legal profession, is reprehensible and totally unpardonable. The next one has to do with the fabrication of evidence to pervert the course of justice. Minister of Justice fabricating evidence to pervert the course of justice. It is instructive to note that in the audio recording, Godfred Dame is heard persuading Mr. Japa not to end his testimony by a particular time to allow him to travel, to allow Godfred Dame to travel. The dishonorable Attorney General is also heard persuading Mr. Japa to procure and submit a fake medical excuse duty to the court, which he was scheduled to testify before that morning. Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
Well, so that's the chair, the national chair of the NDC, Johnson Asidun Katia. Let's stay a bit further on this matter. And it's some 20 minutes after 5. He's just joining us. And Martin Peeble is private legal practitioner. Also been following this case every step of the way. Counsel is joining us on the telephone. Martin Peeble, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening, Ocansey.
It's good to have you join us as always. I mean, you, on Saturday when we spoke, you had said that you would rather want to wait and listen to what the NDC has. Now they've put out this 16-minute tape, a recording of a conversation between Richard Japa and the Attorney General. Now, does this give you some clarity now as to exactly what has to be done going forward?
Absolutely. A lot more clarity. But remember that day whilst I said I was waiting for the tape, I also said on the balance between Godfred Dame and Japa, I will go with Japa because Japa has not given me any cause to doubt his integrity. But the Attorney General had done so on 2 occasions. One, when he added ACP Dr. Benjamin Agbojo to the treason trial, the high treason trial, without any basis, when he himself told me that, oh, Martin, we just added your client. I just added your client to make the case weighty. You see, so that showed a lack of integrity. Then number 2, he went and told a lot of lies on Saturday, 4th May, on Joy FM's news file. He said Mami Tiwa Dodankwa had conducted comprehensive investigations in respect of the money laundering allegations against Madame Sisi Adapa. When it wasn't true, because he, Godfred Dame himself, had instructed his subordinate, Evelyn Kilson, to write a letter to Mami Tiwa to say, among others, you can commence the investigation, but it is not necessary. So how could you, a few days earlier, said they can commence, but it is not necessary, then suddenly say that, oh, comprehensive investigation. So on Saturday, I was very clear that because of these 2 cases, on the balance, I would go with Japa that he was being truthful, and Dame was not being truthful. And true, the tape has vindicated Japa. You know, Dame has lost it. He has lost everything. He just has to resign immediately. Yes, I understand he's left the country, but listen, he can send his resignation even by WhatsApp to President Kufuor. That would do. You remember what's this guy's name? A presidential assistant. He was.
I'm sure you're talking about Victor Smith.
Victor Smith, yes, he was sacked with a text message. Yes, so Dame can resign with a text message or WhatsApp message or which email or whatever. We don't need him to wait. He should tender in his resignation wherever he is in this world. Yes, because this is despicable, totally despicable. It's so dishonorable. Let me use Sammy Jensen's word. Hey, Charlie, how could Dame have stood so low? He didn't even know the case. The witness was now educating him about the facts of the case, and he was in a trial, a case that he didn't even know well. Yes, you were in there. So what are the chances that he had coached other witnesses to come and mislead the court? You see, that's how come under the law of disclosure. Once this fraudulent, this illegal conduct has been found out under the law of disclosure, the trial is to be stopped. And I understand the counsel for A3, they filed it, or even if it's not one of the counsel for the accused persons, has filed a motion for stay of proceedings. That is why it's called. The court to stop the trial. This has embarrassed us too much. Oh, Ghana. Dame, you don't know what Dame wants in this world. So let's go back into the content. So you see issues of Dame. One, apart from asking the witness to answer the way he wants, when a witness is telling you that he frankly feels that would be dishonest, which is bad, fabricating evidence, which is contrary to Section 213 and 214 of the Criminal Offences Act. Two, telling the witness again to go bring an excuse duty, fabricate one, go and say he's not well and get an excuse duty. That's also fabrication of evidence, right? Then, three, you also have what do you call it? Dame meeting the witness when he has a lawyer. It's against our etiquette rules. It says that no, rules 13, 14, rules 13 and 14. When a client, when an accused is represented, a person is represented in a court case, don't meet, a lawyer should not meet that person directly. No, you must meet that person with that person's lawyer or only with the permission of the lawyer.
See, so I recall the spokesperson for the Attorney General was talking about the fact that during the period of that meeting, Richard Japa did not have a lawyer and that he had fired his lawyer or his lawyers at least, or changed his lawyers at least 4 times during the period of this trial. You had heard him make that statement before. Would this suffice if it ever is used as a point of defense or explanation?
It won't suffice because the evidence shows that at that time, Japa was represented by Tadio Sori. The NDC says this one was recorded on the 9th of April. On that date, Japa's lawyer was Tadio Sori. Oh, but Wilberforce mentioned, I knew he was lying from day one. I knew, he's Dame's boy, so to speak. Dame tells him stuff. This is not the first time I've seen him throwing that in our eyes. The same way, when they were justifying this Liadapa matter, they went and quoted the NCA case. When the NCA case was decided under the old law, it's not under the new Anti-Money Laundering Act. Under the old one, they were misleading people. Dame himself and Wilberforce Mensah, Isaac Wilberforce Mensah, they were on radio all over. Oh, the NCA case, the judge said you need a predicate offense. The judge said you need a predicate offense. So when it wasn't present in the case of the medical doctor,
because he has direct impact on this case going forward?
Yeah, so the court will go into this tape. The court will go into this tape matter. And so far, looking at it, by the time the court is done, they will stop the trial. So that is what is called the motion for stay of proceedings. So the tape will be played to the court. The court will analyze if there is issue of authenticity, oh, this voice doesn't sound like somebody, and they will go into all of it and finish. Then when they finish and the tape is authentic and all those things, based on the content, I have no doubt that the court may have to just stop the trial. This is embarrassing. Embarrassing is not even the strongest of words. No. It's a day of shame. This is our national day of shame that our Attorney General, the leader of the bar, is involved in such conduct. And listen, like we keep saying, this is not his first too. I told you, it's just that it's his cup which is full. Oh, people say it informally. People keep complaining about Dame everywhere you pass. People are saying that, oh, no, Dame, unethical conduct all over. People say this all over. So when they tell you that his cup is full, believe it.
I see. But Counsel, the call for him to resign, others have also proposed that there should be a commission of inquiry established to look into this tape. Now, which one should be the most probable consideration? Because the likes of Professor PJ say, you know what, the president should fire him, and if he doesn't resign. But then again, others have also proposed a commission of inquiry to look into this matter. Which one of them would produce the kind of that's the evidence or the results that would help us all in establishing the essence of justice in this case?
All of them will help, an eclectic approach. So the first one is the liberty of the accused person, and so the tape has to be taken into court and presented to the judge. That's what I said, in a motion, in an application called stay of proceedings. And I understand that's what has been done. So the judge will go into it and then hopefully cancel this case, right? Then the second stage, because people are complaining that that is the way Dame has been operating all these years, I support the call for the commission of inquiry so that other people who have suffered similar things under his hands will come and testify, right? Yes, so let's use all. And like I said earlier, he has to resign immediately. If he doesn't, President Kufuor should sack him. But that's with Kufuor, he himself is more corrupt than Dame. So don't be surprised if he delays the sacking, because it's an embarrassment. Dame is one of his favorite sons, quote and unquote. So having brought you such embarrassment, Kufuor, don't be surprised he digs in his heels. Yeah.
Mr. Kpebu, I'm just listening to all the arguments you're making and the details we got from the NDC press conference. What you're basically saying is that this evidence is so damning, Godfred Dame cannot defend himself in any way.
Absolutely. The charges, the infractions are too many. These are too many. By the time you finish explaining all this, it will never be clean. You can't get clean by answering, or no matter how you answer, or no matter how Dame answers all these charges. And you see, the more this case festers on, the more it's going to bring more people down, because increasingly it's occurring to some of us that then it means that he has to be going with the Supreme Court judge who met them several times. So it's not just like one act where it was a mistake, because they're saying that they've met several times, right? Yeah, so the Supreme Court judge has to be packing and going. Yeah.
What should this mean for ministers moving forward? Because, I mean, occupying the position of Attorney General, very high and very sensitive position, and you expect that if there's going to be any kind of conversation like that, it should be coded such that, the AG would not be fished out in terms of evidence should the other party decide to do what Japa has done.
Yes, people will take more precautions by ensuring that they don't talk on the phone. Yes, but no matter what, these things will always happen. At a point in time, a minister may have to answer a call on the phone. So this won't be the last time that a minister will be recorded. But you can expect that going forward, more of them will take precautionary measures to reduce the kind of conversations they have on phone. Yeah.
Well, people, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
and his private legal practitioner, Martin Pebble. There was a lot that happened in court earlier today, and the judge hearing the case in which the former Deputy Finance Minister and Minority Leader, Dr. Kessler Tuforcing, and one other are standing trial for allegedly causing financial loss to the state to the tune of some 2.37 million euros over an ambulance deal to be responsible in their comments on the case. Now, her comments follows the numerous public discourse on the case after the businessman in the case, Richard Jakpa, had alleged that the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfred Dame, has been calling him at odd hours during cross-examination last Thursday. Justice Efia Sewa Sariboche, who adjourned the matter to next week, Tuesday, June 4, to rule on an application filed by lawyers of Dr. Tuforcing, observed that there was too much public commentary on the matter. And the man who sat through all of this in court today is our legal affairs correspondent, Lord Edward Sare, is with me in studio. Lord, now, just tell me, I mean, with Justice Efia Sewa, she's been consistent about commentary on a running case, but you observed her countenance. You observed exactly what happened. When she made this statement, was there any reaction to it by the persons in court?
Well, generally, lawyers of the prosecution, this time around led by Deputy Attorney General, because like to know that the Attorney General himself was absent, and then counsel for their first accused, that is Dr. Kessler Tuforcing, and then leading Richard Jakpa. They were just listening intently to what the judge has said, and indeed they wanted a bit more clarity as far as what she was referring to as comments that could have prejudiced the ongoing case. Now, she did single out NDC Communications Officer Sami Jemfi for comments that he made last week. You'd recall that right after the hearing, Sami Jemfi, there was a press conference he addressed, and in interacting with the media, he noted that if the Attorney General had been able to approach the accused person, he could also approach a lawyer as well as a judge. Now, this comment did not sit too well with Justice Efia Sewa Asariboche, and she indicated that this was not a good comment, for want of a better word, from the NDC communication officer, who himself is also a lawyer. She, in fact, stated that he is a senior at the bar, so certain commentary should not be coming from him because he understands the workings of the court. Something that she noted that with the commentary that's happening in the public discourse is not very helpful, because even educated persons do not necessarily understand exactly the workings of the courts, and so certain pronouncements will further confuse the public and as well prejudice the case. At that point, Sami Jemfi noted that he wasn't necessarily, or he wasn't referring to the judge in question being Justice Efia Sewa Asariboche, because with what she said, she implied that Sami Jemfi was reacting to, or was referring to her in the statement. But he did say that no, it was more of a statement of theoretically, because he said that the AG could have approached an accused person or a lawyer and a judge, with the stress point being a judge. Now, there was a bit of a back and forth, and then she indicated, that is the judge indicated that commentary like that will not be accepted, especially if they will cast a slur on the judiciary. At that point, former Attorney General Marita Upon Brew, she was present in court today. She stood up to intervene, and told Sami Jemfi to stand down, because at that point it seemed like there was a lot of back and forth between the judge and then the NDC communications officer. Later on, the judge called them into her chambers for a meeting, and then the case was adjourned.
Perfect. Thank you. Lord Edward Sare is legal affairs correspondent. Let's cross over to the headquarters of the New Patriotic Party right now. They are addressing the press as well in reacting to this earlier press conference by the NDC and the tape that was played.
Who ought, in the very least, be responsible and know better? It leaves very much to be desired. We owe it to ourselves and posterity to rescue our dear country from this dark canker by those who have made it their stock in trade to spew vitriol and unapologetically take shots at a system they have little or no faith in at all. We have called you here because the NDC have since last week set in motion a malicious scheme fueled by lies, falsehoods, misrepresentations, blackmail, and needless pollution of the mass media, with the sole intention of obstructing the course of justice and scandalizing the criminal proceedings in the High Court, all in the bid to shield Atuforsen MP, minority leader in Parliament, and former Deputy Minister of Finance, and his associates from taking responsibility for authorizing some payments which resulted in a whopping sum of 3.27 million euros lost by the state. Monies that belong to us all as Ghanaians. Ladies and gentlemen, you ask, how did we get here? On 22nd December 2011, Cabinet endorsed an executive approval of a joint memorandum submitted to Cabinet by the then Minister for Health and first accused person, Kesela Atuforsen, then Deputy Minister for Finance, for the purchase of 200 ambulances out of a medium-term credit facility of 15,800,000 euros between Standard Bank Ghana Limited and the Government of Ghana through the Ministry of Finance. On 1st December 2012, the Parliament of Ghana granted approval for the financing agreement between Standard Bank Ghana Limited and the Government of Ghana for the purchase of the 200 ambulances. By an agreement dated 19 December 2012, the Government of Ghana contracted a company in Dubai known as Big C General Trading LLC. In the course, we just refer to them as Big C, whose local agent is the third accused person, Richard Jakpa. And the company was to supply the 200 ambulances to the government, even though that company was unknown to the cabinet and parliamentary approvals regarding the transaction. By the terms of the agreement, advance payment for the contract was prohibited. Payment for the vehicles was stated in the agreement to be through letters of credit established for 25% of the contract price upon the delivery of every 50 ambulance vehicles. On 7th August 2014, in blatant disregard of the financing arrangement for the transaction approved by both Cabinet and the Parliament of Ghana, first accused, Kesela Atuforsen, authorized the Bank of Ghana to urgently establish the letters of credit for the supply of 15 ambulances amounting to 3,950,000 euros, representing 25% of the contract sum. At this time, it is instructive to state that not a single ambulance had been delivered. On 12 August 2014, first accused also directed the Controller and Accountant General to pay the sums of 806,688 Ghana cedis 75 pesos, representing bank charges covering the establishment of letters of credit for the supply of 50 ambulances, and further directed for the amount to be charged against the capital expenditure vote for the Ministry of Health. Ladies and gentlemen, all these directives by first accused, Kesela Atuforsen, were contrary to the agreement for the supply of the ambulances, as well as the parliamentary approval regarding the financing of the transaction. It is also important to note that Atuforsen's authorization of payments for the transaction was without any request from the Ministry of Health. In fact, the Ministry of Health had specifically asked Big C to stop producing the ambulances as there was no valid contract regarding the transaction. In spite of all that, Atuforsen, without cause and for reasons best known to himself, proceeded to authorize payment for the ambulances. Pursuant to the unlawful directives of first accused, Atuforsen, Big C shipped 30 vehicles in 3 consignments between October 2014 and February 2015 which were fundamentally defective and lacking in the basic requirements for an ambulance. In short, they were not fit for purpose. This was confirmed by a letter written by the then Minister for Health, Dr. Alessebefia, and other assessments by the National Ambulance Service. In point of fact, Alessebefia, in the letter to Big C, described the ambulances as ordinary vans, to wit, trotro. Interestingly, this same himself, Alessebefia, was sitting with them in the press conference. These vehicles were never used and could not be used as ambulances during the whole tenure of the John Mahama administration. Following the change in government in 2017, investigations commenced and statements were taken from several people, including the incumbent Speaker of Parliament, Kingsford Bagbin, Mr. Kweku Ajiman Mensah, Madam Sherry Aite Disease, and Dr. Alessebefia, all of whom were former health ministers, as well as first accused Kesela Tuforsen and other persons, including the third accused person, Richard Jakpa. Out of these many people, the Attorney General, convinced that the willful act of Kesela Tuforsen had resulted in a financial loss of €2,370,000 to the state, charged him before the High Court, together with Sylvester Animana, the former Chief Director of the Ministry of Health, and Richard Jakpa, a businessman, for causing financial loss, abetment to causing financial loss, and misapplying public property. The proceedings before the High Court. Ladies and gentlemen, proceedings in this matter have run its full course since commencement in December 2021. The prosecution, led by the able Attorney General, called 5 witnesses in proof of its case. Lawyers for first accused, in an attempt to truncate the proceedings, filed a submission of no case and urged the court to rule that Kesela Tuforsen had no case to answer, as no prima facie case had been made against him. This plea was outrightly rejected by the court, presided over by Justice Ifia Sewa Asaribotre, a justice of the Court of Appeal, sitting as an additional High Court judge. The court ruled, among others, that the Attorney General had led sufficient evidence to establish a case against Atuforsen and therefore ordered him to open his defense. Atuforsen subsequently opened his defense and also closed his case. The third accused, Richard Jakpa, also opened his case and was last Thursday being cross-examined when he made a scandalous, malicious, baseless, and spurious allegation that the Attorney General had approached him on several occasions to skew his testimony to implicate Atuforsen. Ladies and gentlemen, why would any credible person do such a thing? Indeed, if the Attorney General had any intention of having him skew the evidence in favor of Atuforsen, it would not just be just for the Attorney General to continue the prosecution of Atuforsen. But that is what the NDC wants us to believe. Ladies and gentlemen, it is no secret that the NDC ever since the commencement of Atuforsen's prosecution has threatened rain and storm against government, the Attorney General, and any person they can find to cajole the Attorney General from discontinuing the prosecution. Pressure has come from every angle, including former President Mahama, the leadership of the minority in Parliament, the clergy, business friends of Atuforsen, etc., etc. Indeed, former President Mahama specifically maintained the discontinuance of the ambulance trial as a condition to get members of the minority in Parliament to agree to the recent recall in Parliament, and has on several other occasions stated it as a condition precedent for the cooperation of the minority in Parliament. This pressure stems from some warped and baseless logic of the NDC that the Atuforsen's prosecution is politically motivated, and its leader in parliament should be immune from prosecution, even when the facts indicate conduct resulting in financial loss to the state. As mentioned earlier, investigations commenced as far back as 2017, making it imperative to ask at this stage, why is Atuforsen the only government official being prosecuted from all other former ministers from whom statements were taken? Your guess should equally be good as mine. Clearly, the prosecution is based on the various documentation available from the participating agencies in the transaction, and this is evidenced by the court's ruling upholding that the case has been made by the Attorney General that warrants an answer from the defense. It is also worth noting that the prosecution of Kesela Atuforsen commenced even before he became minority leader, making it worthless and nonsensical, the suggestion that he is being prosecuted because he's a minority leader in parliament. This logic can only come from the NDC. Ladies and gentlemen, if at all, the only prosecution in this instance is the malicious and perennial dislike of the NDC towards the Attorney General since he assumed office, and the several attempts made by the NDC to stultify his work. The records are there clearly to show that right from his appointment as Attorney General, the NDC has spent one of the longest periods in our constitutional vetting system with the hope of impeaching his appointment, but the Attorney General remained resolute to their administration. You all watched the live telecast of his vetting in Parliament, and you saw what the NDC took him through. He survived the storm, and he's still our competent Attorney General. Having failed in all these endeavors, the NDC filed a motion for censure to remove Godfred Dame from office as Attorney General soon after his appointment, but this also failed. The NDC have since his appointment held over 12 press conferences against the person of the Attorney General. What at all do the NDC want from this young man? The youngest Attorney General the country has ever produced is working in the best interest of the nation. Yet, these people will not let him rest. The latest allegation by Richard Japa, the third accused and an associate of Kesela Atuforsen in this botched ambulance procurement transaction, is therefore only a further ploy contrived to curtail the prosecution of Atuforsen and smear the Attorney General's integrity and reputation. But this, I can assure you, will not work. We firmly believe that public officials, regardless of social standing, must be treated equally before the law, and they should be accountable for their use of public resources. Needless to say that the law is no respecter of persons. Ladies and gentlemen, the allegations by Richard Japa that the AG has on several occasions met him in private at odd hours and in person on phone to coax him to implicate the accused person is a complete variance with the prevailing facts. In fact, it is laughable. The attempt to selectively present facts without the whole is telling of the intentions of the third accused person. For the record, it is unacceptable that Johnson Asiedu Nketia will run a commentary over the alleged tape calculated to prevent Ghanaians and discerning people as such from making their own deductions and reasoned judgment. You saw him on radio behaving like a choir master. Again, even though from the screenshots displayed, the alleged conversation is supposed to last 26 minutes, the NDC schemed to play only 60 minutes. 16 out of 26. The question is, where is the rest of the tape? Even in respect of what was played, it is apparent that there are repetitions, overlaps, incoherence, voice-over, and distortions, demonstrating that the NDC has spent these past days distorting whatever tape they played. It is no wonder that even this afternoon, we are caught in the same trap anyway. Even this afternoon, instead of commencing the press conference at 2, they had to wait till about 3 o'clock because they were still doctoring. We haven't doctored. We are presenting to you the facts as they are. Even on that doctored tape, the Attorney General never requested the witness to falsify, fabricate, or concoct any evidence or testify in the prosecution's favor. You all heard the tape. Where did the Attorney General lure the third accused person to proffer evidence against the first accused? With the load of evidence before the court, how can the Attorney General manipulate the third accused person? Indeed, if the prosecution had not made any case against Atuforsen, the judge will not call upon them to open their defense. Let us throw those accusations in the dustbin of worthless material. Again, on the question of who initiated the meeting, even from the NDC's presentation, it is clear that if any meeting at all was called, it was mooted and initiated at the instance of the third accused person. We would like to put it on record that as of February 2022, when Jakpa requested for a meeting with the AG never met him and never made any arrangement to the Supreme Court Justice, Emmanuel Yoni-Kolendi. It was not until the AG was invited to the residence of His Lordship Justice Emmanuel Yoni-Kolendi in 2023 that he surprisingly met Richard Jakpa at his residence. We remain resolute and very firm in our minds that the Attorney General has never approached the accused person for any conversation, let alone request him to skew his testimony against first accused Gisela Atuforsen. The only meeting at which the Attorney General met the third accused person was in the residence of a Supreme Court judge, His Lordship Justice Emmanuel Yoni-Kolendi, who about 6 weeks ago requested to see the Attorney General. It is not out of place for the Attorney General to visit the said justice upon request, more so when the two were friends, even before the elevation of the latter to the Supreme Court. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we are all lawyers, we are all trained lawyers. Standing here as a lawyer, if even a magistrate, a circuit court judge, should call me as a trained lawyer to visit him in the house to have a discussion, I will not, for any reason, say that I will not attend. But that meeting should not lead me to abuse my professional oath and pervert justice. Lawyers and judges drink from the same bowl. The judges are lawyers before they became judges. So if a judge invites me to his house, what is offensive? And this is what the NDC wants to make capital out of. They have lawyers in their midst. Would they tell me that their lawyers never visit judges? Again, the Attorney General, at the time of the invitation, was unaware that the third accused person was going to be present, and therefore his subsequent appearance in the House of the Justice was surprising. It is pertinent to note that prior to this meeting, the Attorney General had closed his case, and the court had thrown out the application of Atuforsen for a submission of no case as being without merit. The third accused had also, by 4 different letters by his lawyers, requested and made proposals to the Attorney General for a plea bargain, which will see Big C, third accused principal, paid 2 million euros in exchange for the cessation of prosecution. This has been roundly rejected by the Attorney General. In fact, third accused, through his lawyers in the letter dated 16 May 2023, had indicated unequivocally that they were requesting a plea bargain, and following the rejection, I requested the AG for terms which the Attorney General will consider acceptable. The Supreme Court judge, Justice Emmanuel Yoni-Kolendi, therefore sought to inquire whether there was room for a plea bargain, and the AG highlighted that he was not opposed, provided it was made in proper form, and assured third accused that he had nothing personally against any of the accused persons. The Attorney General further requested that since the charges principally focus on the public officials through whose actions the laws was occasioned, Richard Jakpa should show fidelity to the transaction records which were already in evidence. Finally, there is also a record that first accused himself, Gisela Atuforsen, had, in the company of a senior parliamentarian, visited the AG in his house to plead with him to end the prosecution. The NDC, in their press conference today, have conveniently failed, refused or neglected to respond to this fact, which was also contained in the response of the Ministry of Justice following the proceedings of Thursday. Why will Atuforse go to the Attorney General to beg for a discontinuance of his prosecution, and the same person will, through another video, say that the Attorney General is persecuting him? You can make the inference yourself. You are the best judges. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Attorney General desired to cajole the third accused as suggested, then the best avenue will have been following the third accused person's request for the AG to propose terms acceptable to him, and the several WhatsApp messages sent to the AG pleading with him. Clearly, the third accused person is a hired mercenary contracted to exploit his relationship with the Supreme Court judge, knowing the AG's inability to disrespect the said justice when invited after failing to secure a meeting with the AG. All this is against the backdrop that since the Attorney General was appointed into office, he has been arguably one of the most successful both in and out of court. As remarkably noted by the President at the last State of the Nation's address, he has successfully saved the state over 10 trillion Ghanaian cedis, and his verve in protecting public resources is shown by his commitment to the prosecution of public officials whose acts have resulted in huge financial loss to the state. This is beside the other several infrastructure and logistical improvements to the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, including the almost completed Law House. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is the firm belief of the NDC and Atuforse, if it is the firm belief of the NDC and Atuforse that no loss had occasioned the state from its conduct, then they should just remain faithful to our judicial system and seize these malicious orchestrations targeted at bastardizing our judicial system and to prevent him from standing trial to its final conclusion. They should just keep quiet and let the proceedings in court continue. We are very clear in our minds that the cause for the resignation of the Attorney General is misplaced, unwarranted, and this will not put any spokes in the prosecution of Kesel Atuforse and his associates. Ladies and gentlemen, the call for the resignation of the Attorney General coming from the NDC is very, very rich. The NDC calling on the Attorney General to resign from office. That is rich Ghanaians. The AG will not resign. He will continue to remain witty, resolute, and focused in the delivery of his work, as he does always. The wheels of justice, we say, grind slowly, but eventually it will grind to a halt. Thank you once again for coming to listen to us on such short notice. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make it great and strong. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. The NPP also addressing the press to reply and respond to the NDC's claims earlier, also at the press conference. The man you just heard is private legal practitioner Frank Davis as well, and also speaking earlier was Henry Nanabuachi, who is the national organizer of the NPP, indicating that per their own checks, the tape that the NDC played earlier today has been doctored. Now, as to whether this is going to lead to any other further, as it were, commentary from both political parties, one that we are staying the steam on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Henry Nanabuachi is talking now, still addressing the press on this matter. Let's go back to the NPP's headquarters where this press conference is taking place.
So obviously, he's just translating the press conference that just happened in Chi for the local language stations there. But as Alfred said, that was that response press conference from the NPP. And you heard Frank Davis, the Attorney General, is not resigning, and other details he provided earlier. We have Billy Shan standing on. He is on standby for us to bring us the latest in sport. Oh, actually, before him, Michael Ogbodu is here to bring us the latest in business. Michael, what do you have?
Well, hello there. Good evening. Welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Bank of Ghana directs Societe Generale to submit full list of persons interested in acquiring shares. My name is Michael Ogbodu. Let's go straight into our top story. And the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has directed management of Societe Generale Ghana to submit the full list of all persons interested in acquiring shares in the bank. Recent reports indicates that after nearly 20 years of operations in Ghana, the French bank has decided to withdraw from the country. But addressing the media at the 118th Monetary Policy Committee briefing, Dr. Ernest Addison said his outfit has warned the bank's group of being caught off guard.
On SG informing the regulator of next line of action, this is an area where we have not formally received any information on that from SG, both from their group nor from the office in Accra. I have had discussions with their office in Côte d'Ivoire, and I have complained that we don't want to be surprised. We are hearing things in the air, and we want to see the long list of those that are interested in acquiring their shares. We do not even want to see a short list. So I have expressed those concerns to their representative in the Côte d'Ivoire office, and hopefully we will hear something from the group very soon.
So that was Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, speaking there. Away from that, the economist, Dr. Edu Ususakode, has lauded the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana for keeping the policy rate at 29%. According to him, this has become necessary to control inflation and the loss in value of capital. He, however, expressed optimism about the economy reaching a single-digit inflation by 2025. Take a listen.
It's better to fight inflation, to fight cedi depreciation, because inflation and cedi depreciation would erode the value of capital faster, obviously more than the policy rate. So do you want inflation to go to 50% or you want policy rate to be at 29%? Obviously, you have to choose the lesser devil. So it's not a good thing. It's not an ideal thing. Most economies are struggling. The Ghanaian economy is struggling. Everybody appreciates that it's struggling. And so the Bank of Ghana is just using the monetary tools available to it to manage the circumstances. So I think the traders and businessmen and women should bear with the government, should bear with the central bank. We are hoping that by the end of 2024, when inflation has gotten down to about 13%, then the BOG would, loosen the policy rate to bring down lending rates for all of us to have a better cost of borrowing.
So that was economist Dr. Edu Ususakode speaking there. Away from that, meanwhile, following the Bank of Ghana's decision to maintain the policy rate at 29%, my colleague Menu Afo, in the following explainer, explores its implications for individuals and businesses as well as the economy as a whole.
The Bank of Ghana's decision to maintain the policy rate at 29% is a significant move aimed at stabilizing the country's economic situation by lowering inflation, which stands at 25%, and controlling the rate of cedi depreciation, which stands at 14.6% from year to date. Maintaining the policy rate is also a balancing act. The central bank uses the policy rate as a tool to influence economic activity. At this high rate, the goal is to 1. Control inflation. By making borrowing more expensive, it reduces spending and hence demand pull inflation. 2. Support the cedi. A higher rate can attract foreign capital, bolstering the cedi and reducing import-driven inflation. This high policy rate, however, comes with its challenges. It can stifle economic growth by making loans more expensive for businesses and consumers, potentially leading to lower investment and consumption. This trade-off is a delicate balance the Bank of manage to ensure long-term economic stability without severely hampering growth. In summary, the Bank of Ghana's decision to maintain the policy rate at 29% is a strategic effort to combat high inflation and support the cedi amidst significant economic pressures. While this approach aims to stabilize prices and currency value, it also requires careful monitoring to mitigate potential adverse effects on economic growth, considering the complex interplay between monetary policy, inflation control, and currency stabilization.
So that explains also my colleague Minua for bringing an end to the business news here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen. Let's start locally where Ghana were defeated 3-2 by Nigeria in the third place playoff of the WAFU Under 17 tournament today. Here's a reaction from Onua Sports Solomon Amankwa, who watched the game as Ghana lost to Nigeria.
One of our biggest problems is how to recover from setbacks, and we've seen that even at the highest level with the Black Stars. For me, the Under-17 were not able to recover from that defeat to Burkina Faso, and they carried it into this game, coupled with all the controversies with regards to Ocansey's resignation and the Ghana Football Association imminent release of issues that happened with Ocansey. I think these kids were not able to side themselves up enough for this game. So I'm not surprised Nigeria capitalized on our emotional issues and then did justice through this game. Nigeria deserved to win. If you look at how we couldn't coordinate passes together at a point in this game, obviously they had an advantage over us. So I'm not surprised Nigeria had to win this game against Ghana.
No surprises there, according to Solomon Amankwa, a sports journalist from Onua Sports, who watched the game as Ghana were defeated by 3-2 by Nigeria. Now, still on the Black Starlets, Ocansey released a statement earlier today apologizing for the manner in which he resigned as the head coach of the Black Starlets. Here's an excerpt of what he said. He said, concerning any other issue about my personal conduct, with suggestions that I abandoned the team following last Saturday's semi-final defeat to Burkina Faso, I state unmistakably that my announcement during the post-match press conference was without ambiguity that my role as coach with the team ends after the tournament. I will not conduct myself in any way that undermines the respect and support Ghanaians have given me and the team. To the President and the ESCO, I also want to unreservedly and sincerely apologize for any misunderstanding, inconvenience, and embarrassment my decision to announce resignation last Saturday caused. After careful consideration, I could have handled things better, and this will be a guiding experience for me going forward. Those are the statements from Lai Kingston with regards to the Black Starlets, a role as head coach, which he resigned from on Saturday. He had led the team to 17 games, 12 wins, 2 losses, and 54 goals scored. Now, let's move on to the Black Stars. After days of waiting, the Black Stars squad is set to be announced when head coach Otto Addo meets the press at the headquarters of the Ghana Football Association at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. This engagement is to highlight his plans and ambitions for the senior national team and to announce his squad for the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Mali and Central African Republic.
The former Borussia Dortmund midfielder was appointed permanently in March for a second spell after the departure of Chris Hughton. Now, still on football, head coach of Ghana's amputee football team, Stephen Richard Obeng, has called on the government to firm up preparations for the team ahead of the 2026 Amputee World Cup. The Black Challenge won the 2024 Amputee Cup of Nations after defeating Morocco 2-1 in the final on Monday, qualifying to the global stage. Let's listen to Stephen Richard Obeng.
We didn't have enough preparation for this tournament. So this time around, we want Ghanaians to come in and let the government in power, or whoever will be in power in the next 2 years, that the Black Challenge need preparations. Preparations for the World Cup. We don't have to stay and watch them till the last minute. You stay awake till 12 midnight waiting for your ticket, and 1 a.m. they say your ticket is ready, move to the airport. We don't want such things to happen again. Now they give us the necessary preparations. We don't buy jerseys by ourselves. Everything is a national asset, and we have to take care of it as such. So this is the proof that if we are being taken care of very well, like the other sporting activities, we can go to the sky to raise the flag of Ghana very high.
That was head coach of Ghana's amputee team, the Black Challenge. That is Stephen Richard Obeng. Now let's move on to European football. The UEFA Champions League final is approaching, and fans are eager to see which team will win it between Real Madrid and Dortmund at Wembley. Now, Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham, who also played for Dortmund in the past, is focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a fairy tale kind of ending to a great season, being back home in England, playing against Dortmund. Obviously, a lot of factors for me that can make it perhaps a little bit emotional, but I think for the game I have to try and take that out of it and focus on the absolute plan of the game as opposed to the other little things. And this week building up to it will help that to calm everything. And I'm just grateful to be here. Yeah.
That was Jude Bellingham, and midfielder for Real Madrid, who has been fantastic for Real Madrid this season. But before I do go, earlier today, the 2023 African Games gold medalist Joseph Kome got a 3-2 split decision victory over Congo's Hassan Ntumba to advance to the round of 16 in the 2024 Olympic Games qualifiers in Thailand. That is with regards to boxing. The Jaguar, who is affectionately known as that in the ring, needs 2 more wins to book a place on the global stage. But it was a disappointment for Henry Malm, who lost via unanimous decision to Belgian boxer Mohamed Rachem, losing his chance to qualify. 3 Ghanaian boxers remain in the running for tickets to Paris. That brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen, and Beatrice is on standby with more.
And you're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. In the last 1.5 hours, we've been bringing you stories from the NDC and the MPP with our press conference held by the opposition NDC, giving what it calls details of a secret recording, as it were, and that conversation between the Attorney General Godfred Dame and the third accused in the Atoforcing ambulance trial, Richard Jakpa, and what the AG has been saying. And I'm sure if you've been following us from the start, And the continuation of the program, we also brought you that live coverage of the press conference by the NPP responding to the allegations from the NDC. And some of the things the NPP said in that press conference we covered just some minutes ago. One, the NPP is asking the opposition NDC to provide evidence to support some of the claims it made at that press conference earlier this afternoon. The party also went ahead to say that the NDC chose to play 16 minutes of a 24-minute conversation and accused the opposition party of doctoring that audio tape that it published this afternoon, and insisted that the Attorney General Godfred Dame is not resigning, and that was addressed by both the national organizer of the party, Nana B, and Frank Davis, who is a senior lawyer with the governing NPP. We've brought you some analysis as well. We'll be bringing you Campaign Trail just very shortly, but let's bring you some of the messages you've been sending us via our Facebook page. Emmanuel Amingo says, with some smileys of someone crying, Ghana today, tell a lie and we'll set you free. Evans Blay here with another smiley. There's Chika Tatogbe, corrupt attorney general, must resign immediately. There is Enoch Bet Kamo Zogo, count me in. Danito Godfred Dame is okay. I can't read that. Moses Wally says this man is okay. He says he must be prosecuted and jailed. Kobe, this is serious. There is Arito Bevi Akla. Anas principle is working. I urge everybody to Anas of his family. Okay. There is Jakpa was educating Dame. That is coming from Tayigbe Kojo. Wilberforce Ogua. NPP is a criminal. Okay. There is Gudi Atumi Eta Paba. This guy is criminal and must be treated as such. And okay, so I already read a statement or a comment from Blay on what we've been talking about so far on Hot Edition. And on Campaign Trail tonight, we start from the Electoral Commission, where the Commission says it has learnt from its mistakes as regards publishing data on the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. The EC was forced to come back a few times to correct data it had already put out on the exercise. Many analysts had criticized the EC for getting the basics wrong, but speaking at a special engagement with news managers today, EC Chair Jean Mensah said that the Commission has decided to use Excel moving forward instead of Corel Draw to ensure it does not repeat this mistake. She first explained why the EC chose to extend the days for the exercise to tomorrow.
When you start an activity, you need to put your ears on the ground. You have field officers. We are monitoring the activities. And so you may be aware that initially the Commission had said that there would be no need to have 2 additional days. That is because when you looked in all the data that was coming across the country, you saw a decline. And in many of the centers, you see 8 people, sometimes 4 people, and so on, going to register. There were very few centers that had a decent number of people going to the polls. So we were of the view that, the time frame set was enough. But as the days came to, as we drew nearer to the end, you saw an increase. I think a few people who had not registered started clamoring and going to some of the centers to go register to vote. And so we felt that, well, let's provide the 2 days, not just to take care of the initial network challenges, but we all are aware that we've had some rains. And over the last week or so, there have been 2 heavy rains during the day that may have prevented, people from accessing our centers. So we are a listening commission. And we are not static, as I said, we are evolving. And as and when things happen, you change your operational plan to meet and accommodate, the exigencies of the time.
Statistics and correct ones are expected to come from the Electoral Commission. So when you're coming out with figures and later correcting them, and you're giving the space for people to punch holes in what you do, then I think that there's a need for the Commission to give some sort of assurance as to how you're churning out some of these statistics. So you wouldn't give the opportunity to people to make all sort of claims against.
The Commission didn't rest on its oars, did it? I think what the Commission did was to correct the figures and to inform the general public that some changes had been made within the team that were developing these data. And whilst I do not hold brief for the team, because they were relying on Coral Draw to come up with these pie charts and graphs and so on, that they were doing this manually. And so what we have done is to go back to the drawing board and use Excel. And so we may not have those colorful graphs, and the focus should not be on that, because the application that was being used was not able to do accurate tabulations, and so you found that people had to do, they had to do it manually. So that Coral Draw has been abandoned, and an app Excel has been applied. But again, I say this, that because we are listening Commission and we intend to build trust, you come back, you let the people know what went wrong and what has been done. And I believe that even in the last statement to correct the data on one particular slide, the Commission indicated that there had been changes made and more rigorous methods were being used with the collation of data. And as I mentioned, the Coral Draw that was used originally has been set aside. And so the focus is not to have the colorful infographics, but to have the data using the right applications to do the tabulation.
The Electoral Commission also sets the 2nd of December as the date for special voting.
The special voting exercise is a process that enables registered voters who are assigned specific duties on election day vote ahead of the main election day. Regulation 23(1) of CI 127 states that a voter may apply to the returning officer of the constituency in which the voter is registered to be entered as a special voter if, as a result of election duties, that voter will not be able to be present at the polling station where the voter registered on the day of the election. In Ghana, such category of voters is regulated and limited to officers of the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Armed Forces, the Immigration, the Fire Service, Customs, and the Prison Service, as well as the polling officials of the Electoral Commission and permanent staff of the Electoral Commission, not forgetting our media partners who will carry out important functions on election day. The special voting will take place on Monday, the 2nd of December 2024, in all 276 constituency centers across the country. District police headquarters are mostly designated as special voting centers in each constituency, where the number of voters allocated to a special voting center is higher than the threshold set by the Commission. And usually the threshold that has guided us is 750. And where the number of voters allocated to a special voting center is higher than the threshold set by the Commission, another center is designated as a special voting center to facilitate the voting process within the same center. To ensure a seamless application and voting process for all applicants of the special voting, the Commission has adopted the following measures. All applicants for special voting should apply directly to the returning officer of the constituency where the applicant is a registered voter. Members from institutions who desire to apply as a group may submit a list of their officers to the returning officers to serve as a register to facilitate the process. The list must contain the names of each applicant, the voter's ID card, the polling station code as it appears on the voter's ID card of each applicant. These particulars will enable the returning officer verify if the applicant is a registered voter in the constituency.
And you heard the EC Chair Jean Mensah still on election-related issues. The National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, has unveiled a Vision 2057 agenda with a focus on peace and security, science and innovation, and macroeconomic stability. The Vision 2057 is an improvement on the 40-year development plan. It is expected that political parties will fashion their manifestos to reflect this long-term plan. And that's how we end Campaign Trail on Hot Edition. And that's it for Hot Edition tonight. My name is Beatrice. I did this with Alfred Ocansey. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.